Dopamine detox nightmare mode is the #1 productivity hack, #1 thing that changed my life when it comes to my career, how productive I was, how effective I was, and how fast I got the results that I got. In less than a year, I got the skills that people obtain for 10 plus years. I worked for some of the biggest brands when it comes to design industry at the age of 22. All of my colleagues were at least 10 years older than me. People recognized my skills. People got me to work on the projects that I could never imagine working on. And it's all because of nightmare mode. Alex Becker was the first person that got me into it. He was my shadow mentor. I watched his YouTube videos. He's a super smart guy. He sold his company for $100 million. His strategies are just insane. And he has that little edge of going to that extreme level. And I resonate with that very much. So a few years ago, I saw his video where he explains what dopamine detox is. I'm not a chemistry guy, I'm not into science, but briefly said, dopamine triggers once you do something fun in your life. It works based on comparison. So if you have a book on one side and you have YouTube videos, your brain will choose what to do based on dopamine. What triggers more dopamine in your brain. That's why 100 years ago, it was easy to read a book. Nowadays, it's super hard to sit for 1 minute and to read something because we have computers, we have TVs, we have social media, we have so many things to distract us. And our brain wasn't built to process that much information. So what a dopamine detox is, it is cutting everything that's not related to your goal. And I mean everything. That's a nightmare mode. This was my phone for multiple years. I used that as my phone. I turned off my internet. I wasn't really talking to friends. I cut off all of the fun activities. And the only thing that I was focusing on was work. I created a very detailed plan of what I wanted to achieve. I created an operating plan from day to day where I got to focus on the things that are most important to my growth. I wanted to become good at 3D animations. I wanted to work on those big projects. And I just went all in because there's no going half in, half out. You can either go all in or don't even try. This thing won't be easy. You will have mental problems. You won't talk to people. That is a super extreme thing. You shouldn't do that for prolonged periods. But in that period when you really need to dial in your focus, your concentration, your productivity, absolutely do it. How to do it? Just cut off everything that's not related to your main task. That means internet, that means going out, that means getting drunk, that means watching Instagram and TikTok and Reels. If you still have this phone and you're going to download some app for productivity, it won't work because your mind understands that you can pull your phone at any time and jump to YouTube, jump to Instagram and waste your time. The first few days will be extremely hard. You will question, is it the right decision? You will lack all of the things that you're missing right now. Your mind will get bored because staring at a wall is very boring, trust me. Especially when you cut all of those dopamine highs in 1 day to 0. It will be super hard. But if you manage to proceed over 1 week, 2 weeks, I can't explain you the level of focus you will have. I literally felt like I was on steroids for learning things, for becoming better. I could focus for 12 hours in a day easily because my mind knew that this is the path. For the next 2 months, I will be on this path. I will do this nightmare mode. And my mind knew that there's nothing else to do. I could either work or stare at the wall. And then when you compare staring at the wall and working feels much more interesting. And that's the whole point. When you have work to compare with nothing else, it's super easy to work. And for most of the people, this will be too extreme. People don't want to sacrifice all of the things. And I totally get it. People told me that I was insane. And I was like, yeah, unfortunately, I am insane. And I would love that to change, but it's just how I'm built. When I have a goal, I don't see anything else. I would love to take a vacation in my brain. I would love to relax for a few days, but it just doesn't work with me. I always work. You can either sacrifice the thing that you could have done but didn't, or you can sacrifice for short term to achieve everything you ever wanted. For me, it's totally worth it to suffer over the short term, to put in that extra work over the short term, and then reap the benefits over the long term. And any big goal, anything other than average life, requires sacrifice. So just think, are you ready to sacrifice some of the things that you have right now, some of the comfort that you have right now, to get to the next level? And of course, don't live your whole life as a nightmare mode. Life is so much more than that. There's no point if you're just going to work every single day to get the money, to get the yacht, to get the car, but you have no friends, you have no health, you have no happiness in life, then it's not worth it at all. If you have the phase of just going all in and then balancing out the life, then it's great. Then that's the best combination ever. It's super easy to get your life back in order after those grind seasons. You will lose some of the social skills, but that's super easy to get back. What's not easy to get back are the years that you wasted when you were young, because when you're young, you don't have as much responsibility. You might not even have to pay the bills. Your parents will pay the bills. You're maybe going to college or school. Use that opportunity to grind as much as possible, to build something for your future self, for your future family. That's the biggest advantage that you will have in life. Because once you start working, you will have 8 hours less in a day, probably around 10, because you have to go to the work, you have to eat and stuff like that. You will have 10 hours less in a day. And if you're then that person who never tried anything, who never wanted to go the extra mile, who never wanted to put in the work, it's almost impossible for you to succeed, because you will have to learn after your work. You will have to put in the extra 6 hours after you come home tired. If you're lucky to not have any responsibility, to not have kids, to not have parents to take care of, to not have bills to pay, just use the opportunity. Watching this video is the best moment of your life. I will link you Alex's videos as well, because he knows a lot more than me. I'm just telling you my own experience. Dopamine detox can change your life completely. You will be able to beat anyone else in the game.